Hello everyone, this is Terry Mitchell with the Voice on Fire interview series, The Interviews with Intention. So for those of you who may not have followed along, I like to interview people that I find really fascinating. To me, they're the change agents, the difference makers, the people who like to take action to make a difference and have an impact either in their local community or around our global village. And today's guest, I have with me a very highly regarded graphoanalyst and graphotherapist. Am I correct there, Naveen Toshnawal?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Perfect. Excellent. So as you can probably tell, everyone, this is going to be a really interesting discussion, and it's something that I've personally had my brief analysis done through Naveen, and it was really quite eye-opening and very revealing and extremely accurate. So it was really fascinating to have the experience with you, Naveen. So if we could get started, what I'd love to do is to ask you what it is you do, why you do it, and who you do it for. They're the primary questions. Let's start out by sharing with the audience what it is that you do.
See, basically, I am a businessman. We run an industry. We manufacture industrial cables for supply to industries. Now, graphoanalysis and graphotherapy is a passion, you can say, a passion which I'm pursuing for many years together now, maybe from my college days.
Okay.
So it's something which interested me while I was in college only, because my father, he also had some interest in this science. So I used to see him do the analysis for the candidates he would be interviewing to employ for our business.
Oh, okay.
So he would actually, assess the personality of someone even before the interviews. And then he would make notes, like this person has got a creative ability, or this person has a strong technical stroke. So why not employ him in this field or in this area? So that's how he used to judge people even before the interviews.
Wow.
And then, if you used to see some dangerous strokes like dishonesty and all, he would say, no, let's keep him aside. We won't interview him. So that's how it started interesting me. During my college days, it started progressing, in the free periods, we used to sit down with our friends, and I would casually do analysis for one of them or two of them, and they used to be amazed about the accuracy of the science. So that's how it started.
Wow. Yeah, it's obvious to me just hearing that introduction, how it has quite a lot of very useful application, but also very powerful. So I imagine just being able to trust your gut instinct on what you are seeing through the analysis. Obviously, as we've spoken about, there is a therapy that is also applicable to this particular science. But imagine being able just to see someone's handwriting and make a very accurate analysis about that person's state of being. That's quite fascinating. So you've obviously got it as a passion. What is it about it that really fascinates you, and what is it about it that you really pursue with it? Let's share a little bit deeper about this.
See, what is most fascinating is that it has nothing to do with astrology. Remember, there are a lot of people who link these sort of special sciences with astrology. Now here, astrology has no role to play, because through the strokes of the handwriting, I am not doing any predictions of past or what has or what will happen in future. I am just analyzing the character of a person as on date. So that's the most amazing part, that the accuracy of the analysis is very good, because it's a perfect science. See, remember, as a human being, I can make a mistake in the analysis, but the handwriting strokes will never say anything wrong about a person. If you remember, when I was doing your analysis, I was repeatedly asking you, if you have any queries, please let me know. Reason being that if you would have disagreed somewhere completely, I would have re-looked into the strokes, whether I have made any mistake in the analysis.
Yeah, and I did find that was the case when you did my handwriting analysis. and as I suggested in the lead up to our interview when I was sharing about it on social media, that I had never spoken with you before. We had not had any prior contact. And so I had sent through the page of my handwriting, and in my head it was like, oh, but he won't know that this is how I was feeling and it was all of this stuff going through my head. But when I had sent it to you, you merely were looking directly and scientifically in a very analytical way at the formation of the letters and the way that the pen was stroking across the paper. You hadn't even read what I was worried that I was writing for you. And yet, as you were interpreting it through the phone conversation or the chat that we had after you received the handwriting sample, it was incredibly accurate. And you were able to say things about my style of personality that were, you had no reason to know that that's the kind of person that I was, but it was incredibly accurate. So I'm fascinated by that, because I don't quite understand how this would be associated with the likes of astrology, but it's more like a personality assessment. Is that more correct? Yeah.
Yes, you are absolutely right. It is the personality assessment as on date. Now, suppose you give me a handwriting which is 2 years old or even 2 months old. You would be analyzed what you were at that time. So for an accurate analysis, I would need a freshly written handwriting, not more than 1 or 2 days old. Then only the analysis will be accurate.
Okay. So it's really accurate to the moment in time when it's produced.
Exactly. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
And if you remember, I had done your analysis extempore on the spot. I did not study it prior to discussing with you.
Absolutely.
It was in front of me. I was reading it and telling you this analysis.
Yeah, and that's what I found really fascinating, that you didn't really have time to even think about what kind of information you'd be sharing with me. You were simply looking at the formation of the way that I had written my particular letters and interpreting what it had to say. And I don't think that even in that impromptu interpretation, there was anything that was even remotely incorrect. I was able to give you affirmation or confirmation throughout the whole entire reading, and I was quite impressed with that. So in terms of, you say that this is a passion, what are the ways that you have been able to apply it? So from a perspective of what you do with this, how do you apply it? What's been your approach?
You mean, how do I apply this knowledge?
Yeah, in what sort of environments, or in what ways do you see it having value?
Yeah, it is actually an amazing tool. See, as I told you, my father used to do the analysis prior to taking interviews. So, even today, if we have to assess someone, I would just, indirectly tell the person, give me a small handwritten note. So even if I have 4 to 5 lines in hand, I would be able to assess the personality of the person and then decide whether we should go ahead with the person in a business deal or whatever. At least I will be able to see the strokes of honesty and related issues. So it's a very interesting and amazing way of accurately analyzing anyone without even meeting or having a face-to-face discussion with the person. See, like when you were getting your analysis done, even if we had not discussed, I would be knowing you accurately in and out.
Yeah,
that's the most amazing part.
Yes. Oh, it is, absolutely. I was very impressed, because I have my own personal and, I suppose, professional interests as well in the very many personality assessment tools, often in the format of the question and answer style, rather than in one that interprets the techniques a person uses to form their writing. So in terms of the values of, or what can be found in personality profiling, I'm fascinated by that. And so to know that you only have to see someone's handwriting and you can already determine some qualities and traits that person has. So in that regard, we can probably dig a little deeper into the what you do, but let's also transition this into who do you do it for? In terms of your passion for this, who do you do this for?
See, if in a broader perspective, it can be done for anyone and everyone above the age of 13. Remember,
Okay.
because anyone who is below this age, the handwriting is defined only by the way you are taught to write in your school. But as you grow up and as you become mature, your handwriting is formatted as per your brain. That is only above this particular age of 13 or 14. So when we do the analysis, we tell the client very clearly that it is applicable only above the age of 13 or 14, because below that age, the strokes are not defined as per your mind or as per your personality. So that's how it is.
Okay, excellent. So this really is a tool that demonstrates what the development of the mind is like. So obviously, as you mentioned, when we're in school, we are taught how to write, but I certainly know that I have samples of my own school handwriting that I found in my history box that I kept for myself. And even across from my primary school years through to my high school years, my handwriting has changed dramatically. And even to today, it is so completely different. So you would think it was written by 3 different people because it is just so different. So I understand, as you say, that it's not until we perhaps are more mature that we are responding to writing more out of the creations of our own mind rather than what we're being told. So that certainly makes sense. Do you have a particular client base yourself where you specifically apply this, or what is the situation there?
No, it's applicable, as I told you, for anyone and everyone. Like corporate people, they would like to assess the personality and help their employees improve through this science. So this is one of the sectors where I am regularly invited to do presentations. Then educational institutes. And in fact, I always insist that whenever an educational institute calls me for a presentation, the teachers and management must be present in the meeting rather than the students. Because if we are able to help improve the teachers and the management, then it is quite obvious that it will have an impact and help the students to improve as well.
Yeah,
so this is one sense. This is a very interesting sector. Another very interesting sector is, there are some patients who are going through a mental stress, who are not able to openly discuss their problems with the doctors, maybe because of their secretive nature, and maybe they don't want to disclose anything or everything to their doctors. So in such cases, I request for a handwriting from such patients, and I would be able to analyze their mind and then guide the doctor suitably that this is what I've observed. So you may go ahead with your counseling and therapy suitably. And of course, if the client is interested, I would also give my therapy. But ultimately, what is required is that the patient should improve. Whether it is by any means, that doesn't matter, whether by counseling of the doctor or through graphotherapy or any other mode. Ultimately, the intention is to help the person come out of a particular crisis.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And before we dig a little deeper, I'll just pass through to one extra question I like to ask. Why is it that you do this? What's your big why? So we understand what it is in some level. We'll go into a bit deeper and what it is you do, but also who you can do it for. But why do you do it? What's your driving passion behind this? What's so fascinating for you?
See, actually, as I told you, this started like a passion for me. And because of the accuracy of the analysis, I was highly motivated by my friends and relatives that why don't you do it professionally, go deeper into it and start doing it professionally. So this motivation actually drove me to do it more and more.
Mhm.
So this is a particular reason why I do it. The motivation
Mhm.
and the drive to help people
Yeah.
come out of some situations where they should not be.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you honestly, this is not a source of making money for me. Of course, I charge my clients, otherwise, it has no value when I do someone's analysis and give therapy. But the intention is to help people
Mhm.
and, uh, in fact, guide them to come out of a crisis situation or a situation where they are not comfortable.
Mm.
So, this is why I do it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally understand that. So we've covered off the three questions that I really like to ask, but this style of let's call it the science, because it certainly is, but this style of science, we can dig a little deeper with this, and I'd really like to go back to our first question about the what it is you do, because it's not just the analysis, as we've been sort of alluding to throughout this conversation. It's not just an analysis that you do. So certainly you can receive a handwriting sample that is fresh and current to the day, and you can assess it and make the observations and the interpretations. That's one part of this. But as we've been saying, there is also a therapy. So what is graphotherapy? How does that work so that it has that benefit of helping people?
Yeah, it's a very good question you have asked, because see, if we analyze someone's handwriting, we are just able to assess and judge the personality of a person as on date. When I do analysis of anyone, maybe yours also, you already know about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever I'm analyzing, you are able to correlate. Yes, it's happy. Is yes, this is right. This is right. So you already know about yourself, but then it is not helping you to improve or get
Mm-hmm.
out of the negative traits in any way. That is where the role of therapy comes in, where you make conscious efforts to change some strokes in such a way that it impacts your subconscious to actually change you. Of course, it's a process. It's not that it will be done overnight. It's a process where you have to be patient for about 3 to 4 weeks' time. And what is required is a devotion of only about 5 minutes a day to practice the strokes. See, now why I am stressing only 5 minutes? In general, no one writes these days. Very
Mm-hmm.
few people are
Yeah.
into writing. Writing has actually almost gone away from our lives because we are all on laptops, on texting, on mobile phones. So the opportunity to write has gone away after our student life is over. So if you have to improve through this therapy, you have to make up your mind to devote that only 5 minutes a day to practice the strokes, which will be decided after the analysis is done.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, the therapy will be different for everyone because the strokes will be different. The areas where you have to improve will be different.
Mm-hmm.
So, the therapy will start after the analysis, and just you have to devote 5 minutes a day, practice the strokes, and within 2 to 3 weeks, you will start observing the changes in yourself. Others will
Wow.
also observe a change in you, and you will also observe a change in yourself. So that's how
Wow.
it goes. And within a period of 3 to 4 weeks, you will be out of the negative traits for which we were doing the therapy.
Wow, that it almost sounds too good to be true. And I'm querying for my own benefit because, as I suggested earlier in our conversation here, I haven't yet undergone the therapy, though certainly interested. But my query, I suppose, is with that 5 minutes per day spent on changing the stroke that has been identified, or perhaps is it a series of strokes? How many strokes does a person need to concentrate on in that 5 minutes? Is it just the one? Is it several? How is that determined, and in what way does the time frame for the change take place? So if it's one stroke, is it 3 weeks for each stroke, or is it just a period of time depending on what strokes are the focus of the therapy?
No, it normally is a series of strokes. But remember, if we be practical, if I tell you to change 5 strokes at a time while you are doing or practicing the therapy, it will be very difficult for you
Mm-hmm.
because you have a writing you have a habit of writing O in a particular way, T in a particular way, Y in a particular way. And if I tell you to change all the strokes in the therapy, your mind will get confused and it will be very difficult to consciously change all the strokes at a time during the practice. So I try to emphasize on the particular strokes which may have a multiple impact. For example, the letter T, it has a very important value in handwriting analysis. So if I tell you to change the T bar and put it a little higher or a little lower or in the center, so that particular stroke may have a multiple impact. Like it may help you to improve your self-confidence, get over procrastination, get over short temper, and maybe help you to define your goals, long-term goals in a proper way. So one particular stroke may have single or multiple impacts depending on what stroke you are practicing. So I would normally recommend to try and stroke only a couple of strokes in the initial therapy, but they will be the most important strokes to change, the more negative traits which are to be handled on priority. So once you go through that therapy for 2 to 3 weeks, and then you tell me that, okay, yes, now I'm able to observe or feel the changes in myself. I'm feeling more confident, or I'm getting angry less often. Then we would go in probably for the next therapy, where I would tell you to change some more strokes. So it's a continuous process. If you are interested in continuing and improving further, we can tackle more strokes after this period of 3 weeks are over. But trying to handle all the strokes at a time will practically be very difficult.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I know certainly from the interpretation of my handwriting that you did for me, there were a couple of very obvious strokes that it wasn't until you had discussed those with me that I thought, wow, I really never noticed that that's what I do in almost 90% of every time I shape that letter. And I think it was the letter T in the T bar that my bar is always from the right and goes across. It never cuts across the top of the entire letter. And yet my writing is often written very quickly. It's a little bit like doctor's handwriting. It's a bit scratchy, it's a bit messy and not always easy to read. But it certainly was fascinating to see, as we were discussing through my sample, how many of the letters that I had formed in what I'd written for you were very habitually done based on the state of mind that is quite subconscious, because it's certainly not at the level of my awareness when I'm writing. But as we were focusing on it, it became more obvious to me that, yes, those traits reflect that style of personality that I have, or that particular mood that I tend to write in, or that emotional state that comes through. So it makes sense that if we're going to be trying to perhaps correct or move through from some negative demonstrations within ourselves that come through in the writing, it wouldn't be wise to try to do so many at once. So it makes sense to do that a little bit at a time. And what was fascinating in what you were just saying is how it can really change someone's level of self-confidence, for example, or someone's ability to not procrastinate just by focusing on changing the way a letter is written. Now, I understand, and certainly this came through when you and I were talking earlier in our analysis, that it's not possible to analyze somebody on a very brief amount of writing, simply because if we don't know enough about the entire picture, we could be giving misinformation to the person. Is that something that you can share?
Yes, that's a very interesting and logical question. There are many people who claim to change the personality of a person simply by changing the signature. Now, this is quite illogical according to me, because when we do the analysis, what we look at is the repetition of the strokes. See, for example, a particular letter T or O or any letter, if you write an entire page, you would be writing it probably in 2 or 3 or maybe 4 or 5 different ways. Now, the number of times the particular stroke is written in a particular way, that has got a meaning. The more the repetition of a particular stroke, that is the more prominent stroke which you have in you. Now, if you just think about a situation where I am analyzing a signature which hardly has 4 or 5 letters, how do you expect to accurately analyze someone and then give a therapy? So signature analysis, according to me, does not have any genuine value in changing the personality of a person. Okay, if we are doing the analysis of a person, the signature may just reveal a couple of strokes, that also, and I should say it's not even 0.5% of the total analysis of a person. So what we need to do accurately is to analyze the entire page handwriting. And if you remember, I told you also to write a full page so that the accuracy of the analysis is even closer. So that's what, we have to analyze the entire handwriting. And if you will permit me, I'll just give a small demo of the charts, how I do the analysis. That would probably interest the viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the benefit of anyone who will be listening to this via the podcast, Naveen has got a couple of cards or pieces of paper that he's actually got some samples written on. So if you do want to find out more, do check the podcast from the podcast, go to the YouTube channel to see this. So yeah, by all means, please do share what you've got written down there so that you can explain it a little more for us.
Yeah, okay. I'll do it briefly because, it's a big science, but just to give you an idea.
Absolutely.
Like, see, this is the slant of the handwriting, a right slant, a straight handwriting, a left slant. So this is what we call an emotional chart, the degree of the slant of the handwriting.
Yeah.
Right slant indicates persons who are expressive. They show their emotions. Straight handwriting is a person who is composed and calm. Left slant handwriting is a person who is actually an introvert. They will not share anything what they have in their mind. Now, these are the various ways where we can write small m's and small n's. A pointed M and N, pointed at the top, indicates people with a sharp mind. They have a good grasping ability. They don't take time to understand anything. Now, M's and N's are written here with inverted V-like strokes. Like, see, these are inverted V's, you can see. These indicate people who have curiosity for learning. They like to learn new things. Now, this is the way we were taught to write in school.
Yes, it
with
is.
rounded M's and N's at the top.
Yeah.
This indicates people who are slow thinkers. Now, there is nothing negative about a slow thinker. Slow thinker is just a person who takes time to understand something after going and studying into details. This person may understand something instantly and may grasp it very fast. But this person may not understand the same subject instantly. If this person goes into details, studies and restudies for a couple of hours or maybe overnight, then he will be able to understand much more than this person the next day.
Absolutely. So I would like to say, just as an experience of that, I remember in high school, I was having some difficulty understanding a topic. And my particular teacher, she was very, very much the traditional school mom, and she was quite strict. And she was a little bit frustrated with me because she looked me in the face and said, "You understand this?" Because she could see that I really did understand it, but I didn't believe that. And I was struggling with it for hours. And yet, when we came back to class the next day, I had taken the time to read over it and to really think about what it was that we had gone through during class. And as it turned out, just in that one moment, I understood it so well that I was able to explain it to the rest of my students, or the students, my fellow students, even better than the teacher had. And it was like, wow, how did I do that? But it's that similar sort of thing. Sometimes we do need to grasp things, and it's fascinating how our handwriting can be a way of showing that that's what our minds are like. That's really quite fascinating.
So I'll show you the next chart. These are the upper strokes. Now, upper strokes can be written straight like this without a loop, or they can have small loops or a bigger loop like this. Now, loops indicate a person who are sensitive. Sensitive can imply two things: a person who is touchy, or a person who is compassionate, or it can imply both.
Okay.
Bigger the loop, more sensitive the person is.
Okay.
Now here, this is a normal A, this is a normal O,
Yep.
the way we normally write. You will see there's a gap here, a
Yep.
small gap in the A, small gap in the O.
Yes.
These gaps indicate people who are frank,
Okay.
and they would probably be not hiding anything with them. Whatever is there in their mind will come out. Now here you will see a small loop in the O, a bigger loop, and a very big loop.
Okay.
These loops indicate people who are secretive.
Okay.
Now this sort of stroke coming in a child, I would say it's a negative stroke.
Okay.
Because people who don't, or children who don't tend to share, or who are secretive, how can we know what is going on in their mind? And in turn, how can we guide them? But if the same stroke appears in people like us who are mature enough, it would also imply a positivity, because don't you think a person who is secretive can also be trustworthy, a person who can be relied upon?
Absolutely. Yes.
So this
that
can
makes sense.
imply a positive stroke in case of mature people like us. Of course, it has to be linked up with the total analysis of the handwriting and the other strokes. But this also implies trustworthiness.
Yes.
Now here you will see there are double loops. A loop in the beginning and a loop after the O. This is a slightly dangerous stroke. This implies dishonesty or deceit, person who tends to cheat.
Okay.
So we should be careful of these strokes where there are double loops.
Yes. Wow, that's so fascinating. So what else do you have for us?
Yeah. Now here I will be showing you some lower strokes. A straight down stroke like this implies a person who is strongly determined, good determination. A small loop like this indicates people who are choosy or selective. A big loop like this, or an even bigger loop, indicates people who are having a good imagination and a very creative mind. But a half loop like this indicates people who have creativity, but it is not being utilized to the full potential.
Oh, wow.
Now, an inverted 8 like this in a lower G is again a positive stroke. It implies fluidity of thinking. People who are very good planners, they plan their way and plan their day and execute their tasks in a very organized way. A stroke finishing down and a swung forward. This again is a positive stroke. It indicates initiative. A person having good initiative, strong initiative.
Wow.
Now, this is the final chart. And as I was telling you, T has got a very big value in the analysis. This is a normal T with a T bar, which is cutting towards the top of the stem. This is even going higher towards the top of the stem. These indicates people who are ambitious and they have a well-defined long-term goal. Now, a T bar going down indicates people who are lacking confidence in their own abilities, or they get self-doubt in their own abilities. See whether I'll be able to do it, should I do it, should I leave it, that sort of thoughts. A T bar going above the stem, it is going in the air, it is not even cutting the stem. This indicates people who are overthinkers. They just plan that I will do this, but the actual effort to achieve their goals is not there. We can say they are daydreamers. Now, a T having a inverted V like this in the T stem indicate people who are stubborn. A T bar going to the right indicates short temper. A T bar going to the left indicates procrastination. See, now if we talk of a therapy, a person having short temper or procrastination, I would just tell them to cut the T bar, a T stem fully. That's it. So the therapy is as simple as that. To get over temper or procrastination, just cut the T stem. Now here you will see the T bar is having a hook. This indicates a person having jealousy or greed. A T bar starting thick and ending in a point indicates sarcasm. T bar slanting downwards is a dominating personality. T bar going upwards is a person who is optimistic. Now here you see the T bar is almost illegible. It's very, very small.
Yes.
This indicates people who may be lacking in willpower or their goals in life are not so well defined.
Wow.
A curved T-bar like this, a concave or a convex shape, indicates people who have good self-control. A T-bar with wave like this indicates people with a good sense of humor. A
Wow.
T-bar and T-stem, which are joined or interlinked, indicate people who have persistence. They would not leave the task in hand till they complete it. Now, here you will see a T stem which is starting with a rigid initial stroke. This indicates people who might be having resentments. Now,
Wow.
resentment is not a good stroke because we should get over resentment. It's something which takes you back. You are brooding over or pondering over some old episodes.
Yes.
And you are just thinking and rethinking about it, which doesn't help you in any way. It
No.
just takes you back.
No.
So I hope this demo will give you some idea how I do the analysis. It has nothing to do with the neatness of the handwriting, whether your handwriting is legible, illegible. Many people say I have a bad handwriting, so maybe my character is bad. No, it has nothing to do with that. It is just the strokes which help me to analyze a person. I don't even read the text. I don't even read the context in the email, in the
written sample.
paper.
Yeah. Wow. And what I found fascinating with what you were describing, and I mean, it reminded me so much of when we were discussing my sample, but just what I found fascinating, and I wonder if you do have detail that you could elaborate on, is why do you think it is? I mean, I totally understand a lot about this, but I'm curious to understand, why do you think it is that just the moving of that stroke in the T, for example, instead of having it to the right, which suggests that the person might be having a bit of a bad temper or bad mood, and having it shift more across to cut across the stem, what in practice, why does that help to change that person's bad temper?
See, I'll be very honest with you. I'm a person who does the analysis and helps people to improve by changing the strokes. So you can say that my role is of an engineer who has the technical knowledge and helps people to improve. But why the short temper is depicted by a T-bar going to the right, that is something, that is science actually. Like, scientists, they would be doing research on why that is so. So that is not my jurisdiction, to be very honest. My jurisdiction is, I just know, like, for example, let us take Newton's law. It is a gravitational force, like, it is 9.8 grams per second square. That is the object falling from top to bottom. That is the acceleration of gravitational force. But why it is so, that is not my role to know. I just know that this is a formula which is to be applied practically in our lives, and how we can apply it, that we have to see. Similarly, I know what the stroke means because that is what I have read in the books and studied. And we need to change or modify those strokes through therapy to change yourself. So that is my part. I hope you understand what I'm trying to.
Totally. That I totally understand. I was just curious as to let our listeners know and to share that information. What I found fascinating, and I'll share this as a quick part of the story, and anybody who likes watching movies can refer to this movie and perhaps go and watch it just to have this reference. It was interesting leading up to the fact that our interview was coming up. I flicked on the television the other night, and it just happens to have been a movie that I would normally say the character of the person being played was of interest, but I wasn't terribly fussed on this particular movie because I wasn't fussed on the actor playing the character. And it was the Sherlock Holmes movie, and it was the one where Robert Downey Jr. is playing Sherlock Holmes. And I watched it because it was on. I was doing other things, so it was kind of not really my focus of attention until I heard the word. I think they actually used the reference graphoanalysis, in referencing this particular scene in the movie. And it caught my attention, and I was listening and watching, and quite literally, Sherlock Holmes has a scene where he is looking at a piece of paper and doing an analysis of the character. And I don't know who the character is. I wasn't paying enough attention, but it was literally doing, and it was exactly as you have just spoken about with us. And I was fascinated, and I was hoping it could have gone on a bit longer, but it was only a very brief scene in the movie. So it's something that, even looking back in history, appears to have been referenced. So how long ago do you think this particular style of scientific interpretation has been something we've been aware of?
Yeah, see, actually, it's a very old science.
Mm-hmm.
We have all heard of a Greek scholar, Aristotle.
Yes.
That was around 2000 years ago. He was there.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first person who actually found a link between the mind and the handwriting.
Oh, wow.
And he used to say that handwriting is actually mind writing. And whatever is there in your mind, it comes out through the hand and through the fingers and through the strokes on the paper.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an old science. Unfortunately, the awareness is quite less. Not many people are aware. Yes, of course, some people are aware that analysis can be done. Very few people are aware that the therapy also exists to actually change yourself.
Yes, yeah.
It's an old science which is still quite untapped till now.
Yeah, I think it's something that's so super important, particularly in today's day and age. As you say, so many of us don't physically pick up pens and papers and write anything. And to see young children actually struggling with the idea of writing because they have to complete their homework on a tablet or a computer, and they do so much of their work on the technological devices, that it's really, I'm wondering if handwriting is going to be a lost art at some future point where we just never pick up a pen and paper and actually write anything. And I know a while ago I thought, you know what, we probably do need to start like a new club of interested parties who want to create handwritten letters again and write real physical mailed letters to people. And what a joy and a delight it would be to physically receive a letter in the mail instead of a quick text that says in abbreviated phonetics, LOL, laugh out loud. When did we've almost become hieroglyphic again in the way we communicate, in the sense that we don't form actual words. And that leads me to another question. We have been referencing this in relation to the fairly standard English language. How does it apply, or can it apply to other languages? And I guess it would seem to me logically it could be done, but what's your experience there?
Yeah, it's a very valid question you have asked. In fact, as we were discussing all this while, it is the strokes which define your character. And the strokes are there in any language you write. Whether you write in English, French, German, Latin, and whether it is any vernacular language in India also, in Hindi, in Bengali, Gujarati, any language, even Arabic, Japanese, Chinese, they are all written in different ways, but the strokes will still come. So analysis is possible in any language. But unfortunately, my knowledge is restricted to analyzing handwriting, which has got ABCD. Other than English, languages like French, German, Spanish, they also have ABCD. So I would be able to analyze only those handwritings which have these letters. But an expert who has done a detailed study would be able to analyze any handwriting as accurately as English.
That makes sense.
It's a very good question you have asked.
Yeah. So I guess just to point out there, that would be that for someone who perhaps writes in Japanese character, they would have an expert who in Japanese language could still apply graphoanalysis and use graphotherapy to make the changes.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, I would like to add something here. See, I am just doing personality analysis through handwriting and then giving therapy to change personality.
Mhm.
But graphoanalysis is a very wide science.
Okay.
We can not only analyze the character, we can even analyze the relations
Oh,
through the
wow.
handwriting.
Okay.
How your relation is with your wife or with your father, mother, with your children. And even more interesting, you can even analyze the medical condition of someone through the
Wow.
handwriting. In
Wow.
fact, I knew of someone in India only, staying in Delhi, who used to accurately analyze the medical condition of a person. He had done research by staying with the patients and moving around in hospitals and analyzing the strokes of these patients. And then when I met him about a couple of years back, he was actually able to accurately analyze the readings of blood pressure through the
Mhm.
handwriting strokes,
Wow.
what diseases he had in the past, what he's going through now, and what he is likely to have in future. That was actually most amazing for me. I spent
Wow.
about a couple of hours with him and I was amazed with his knowledge.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's a wide
fascinating.
science, as I told you.
Yeah.
And my knowledge, of course, is restricted only to personality analysis and personality improvement. But if
Uh,
someone has a wish or a desire to learn more, there is no limit.
Yeah, I wouldn't say yours is restricted. I would say you have quite an in-depth and quite specific knowledge in the area that you have chosen to pursue, in which case somebody who perhaps does the relationships analysis can do that quite specifically, and someone who does health related could also do that quite specifically. I mean, understandably, with certain personality profiling tools and systems that are out there, it doesn't just restrict itself to the person in question. It can be across the way they relate to people and how they take care of themselves. But it requires some deep in specific knowledge and study and a passion. If you've got a passion for that, that's where you'll develop it. Naveen, this has been a really fascinating conversation. I've really enjoyed going a little deeper with you this time around. And just in terms of for our audience who may either be listening through the podcast or who are watching the YouTube channel, where would they find you? If someone wanted to contact you, do you have any particular social media platforms that you can be found on?
Yes, I'm there on Facebook. You can search with my name.
Mm-hmm.
And below my name, you will find I have written graphotherapy specialist.
Okay, excellent.
So that's also there on Instagram and even on LinkedIn.
Fantastic.
And of course, in your chat box, you may also share my email ID and WhatsApp number. So
Mm-hmm.
I am approachable anytime. There's no problem.
Fantastic. So for anybody who does tune into the YouTube channel or the podcast, down below in the descriptions below each, you will find the details, and I'll include the links so that if you do want to follow up and reach out to Naveen to find out a little bit more about this amazing assessment and therapy tool, then certainly you'll be able to do so after you have watched our video or listened to the podcast. And on a parting question, Naveen, one I've really enjoyed asking my listeners, my guests of late, is what is your one big wish for humanity?
See, I really wish that people don't stop writing totally. Of course, in today's time, we are all texting and we are all technology savvy. That's very good. But we should not completely give up on the writing, because this is something which really helps you to improve
Mm-hmm.
your personality, your character. Just a small bit of writing every day would definitely help and keep people motivated to do what they are doing. Because writing has totally gone out of our lives almost.
Yeah.
Of course, students are writing, but then the continuity should be there. Not that you have to write pages and pages, just a few lines every day. So it keeps you in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you recommend people perhaps use journals or diaries and record their personal thoughts at the end of each day or at the beginning of a day?
Yes, that is one of the ways where we can keep in touch with the writing. But there are some people working in corporates who are supposed to make notes during the meetings. So you can make handwritten notes instead of typing on the laptop. So that keeps you in touch.
Yeah, there's always a way around it. All we need to do is just look for opportunity to express the handwritten version of our I like it, the mind writing rather than the handwriting. I really like that. Naveen, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. Thank you so much for sharing with our audience your passion for and your expertise in the areas of graphoanalysis and graphotherapy. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me on Voice on Fire.
My pleasure too. And I thank you for inviting me on your platform.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. You're watching or listening to Voice on Fire, interviews with intention. If you're new to Voice on Fire interviews, you'll hear from everyday amazing people on a mission to make a difference. These people are change agents, action takers, and difference makers, having a positive impact on their local community or across our global village. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell for updates on new interviews. I hope you enjoy.